Hello! So I am at a really weird and mind-boggling phase of my life, and I wanted to talk about it because I haven't talked about stuff like this in a while, so here we go. So I've been really open about my struggles with anxiety and depression in the past, and that's been for a few reasons. Firstly, to normalize it because so many people deal with the exact same shit that I deal with. And secondly, because it was really hard for me not to talk about it. It affected my whole life, as mental illnesses do. I first got depressed when I was 12, and I've probably had anxiety for around the same amount of time, but I didn't get diagnosed with it until I was 15. And I've spent that entire time feeling their effects. That's 6 years. That's my entire adolescence until now. And I say until now because at the moment I feel differently. I feel good? What? For me, high school has always been my #1 issue in dealing with my mental illnesses. It's like when organized education was invented, a bunch of old white dudes got in a room together and just thought, how do we make this the most impossible for the chronically ill? I'm actually a good student when I have motivation, but my depression just violently tore that out of me for like 90% of the last 5 years. If you cannot manufacture motivation to do stupid shit that you don't want to do, then high school is going to be very, very difficult for you. And that was probably the hardest thing about it all, you know? Like dealing with the relative uselessness of it all. I was like very much consumed by existentialist nihilist dread from grade 10 to grade 12. I just didn't understand why I had to jump through hoops and do stupid shit that I didn't want to do for 5 years, and then, and only then, could my life finally begin. Honestly, I was really suicidal for a while there, and I genuinely didn't think that I was gonna live through high school, so why the fuck was I wasting my time in a concrete box learning about the mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell instead of making movies and building a career for myself? Like, that still does not compute to me. And when you can't motivate yourself to do homework or go to class, you just fail everything. And people are like, well, why are you having so much difficulty, Sarah? Like, high school's easy. Or, Sarah, you're smart, you should be able to do this. And when you see yourself failing to do something that everyone around you can do with relative ease, you just hate yourself. You just fucking hate yourself, and it's inescapable, and there's nothing you can do about it. Until, of course, you no longer have to go to high school. I'd been pretty aggressively mentally disconnecting myself from high school for the last 2 months of grade 12, so much so that I almost didn't even go to my own graduation ceremony because I just did not care. But my guidance counselors told me that I would regret it if I didn't go, so I went. But it was super strange sitting there because I just did not care. High school wasn't all shit, and I have so many wonderful friends who were so excited to be there, and that made me really happy because I like seeing people that I love happy. But I personally was just like, okay, bye. Please let me leave. For me, the closing night of my last play of high school was so much more emotional because theater was basically my lifeline during all of high school. And since that day, I was like already pretty much just ready to piece it. The day of my last provincial exam, I was in such a good mood because I knew as soon as that was done, I never, ever had to go back to high school. I almost started crying right after I submitted it because I was so intensely relieved. I just felt this palpable weight lifted off of my shoulders, and now it's been like all up mentally since then. So that brings me to now, and why I'm in such a weird and mind-boggling phase of my life. For the past 6 years of my life, my baseline mood was either crying, which isn't a mood, but you know what I mean, or more recently, all-consuming apathy. And now, for the past couple of months, my baseline mood has been like genuine contentedness. And those feelings are kind of similar in that there's a sort of sense of nothingness to them where you just don't even notice that they're there at all. But when I'm feeling apathy, it's because I've blocked everything out and I cannot feel any emotion. And when I'm feeling content, it means that I actually do have emotions. I'm just like chilled and calm in a way that's positive. Does that make sense? You see the similarities? Anyway, it's super weird. The thing about being mentally ill during your formative years is that you don't know where the mental illness ends and where your actual personality begins. The two just become so entwined and so entrenched in one another that it's like really difficult to separate one from the other. I feel like this whole summer I've just spent like meeting myself for the first time, because I'm discovering that line where the mental illness ends and the personality begins, and it's surprising. Like, for example, this is maybe TMI, but whatever, I'm keeping it real. If you're a person with both a uterus and a mental illness, you might have noticed your friends talking about how on their period they'll get like PMS, or they'll start crying, or they'll like get mood swings or whatever. I didn't think that that happened to me because I've never noticed a shift in mood whilst I'm shedding my uterine lining. Turns out I only thought that I wasn't crazy when I was on my period because I was already so crazy to begin with. Last month at work, I just started crying for no reason other than that my uterus was being a bitch. Before, crying out of the blue was just business as usual for me, so I didn't think that it was linked to that. Like, nobody talks about this, nobody warns you about this. Like, I'm talking about this even though it's a weird thing because I feel like somebody else has definitely experienced it and they're like, yeah, it's wild. Also, another example, I work at a really busy restaurant and I was working the day of the Pride Parade and I worked downtown kind of in like the thick of it. We were just getting rolled. We had so many people in the restaurant. We were running like an hour-long wait list and I was like in charge of like the entire host team. And I didn't think before that I would be able to do that because I can't handle stressful situations. Like, I just start crying and have panic attacks. But I was totally fine. Like, apparently I'm a chill person. I didn't know this about myself. I mean, my like morbid, dark sense of humor and the fact that I'm super bitter and sarcastic, like that hasn't gone away just because I'm not feeling so sad all the time. But all of that stress and sadness that I felt that was like so much a part of who I was, like, it's just gone now, and it's a weird adjustment to make. I feel like this happens to a lot of people after high school, like not necessarily that they stop being sad, but just like they change a lot in the summer after they finish school. And for me, it's just been like a particularly strange change to go through. Anyway, yeah, I don't know, that's just where I'm at right now. Thought I would make a video about it. I hope you people have found this interesting. I will see you in my next one.